Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Larry Malerba. Welcome back to the All Things Homeopathy Materia Medica series. Today I'll be discussing the homeopathic remedy called Baryta carbonica, which is Latin for barium carbonate. Barium is an alkaline earth metal with atomic number 56 on the periodic table. Barium carbonate, chemical formula BaCO3, is an inorganic compound that occurs naturally as a mineral called witherite. Although the homeopathic literature emphasizes the importance of Baryta carb in treating developmental problems in children and cognitive issues in the elderly, it's important to understand that it can be a very useful remedy for people of all ages. Okay, so let's go.
Now, Baryta carb is a remedy that is most easily identified by its mental, emotional, and behavioral characteristics. We can sum up these characteristics and the nature of Baryta carb in general in three words: immaturity, insecurity, and dependency. And these three characteristics are frequently, but not always, interrelated. So as we'll see, Baryta carb's immaturity, whether on the mental, emotional, or physical level, tends to create a feeling of insecurity, which in turn fosters a type of dependency. All right, now let's take a closer look at these three attributes. Okay, now, Baryta carb is primarily a remedy for slow or delayed development. And this lack of maturity can be seen on any or all levels: mental, emotional, and or physical. The person who needs Baryta carb tends to be small and underdeveloped physically, deficient mentally, and or naive and simple-minded emotionally. Words that we can use to describe Baryta carb are stunted, delayed, backward, slow, simple, innocent, naive, basic, uncomplicated, and immature. But the terms most commonly used to characterize this remedy are childish and childlike. It's as if the person who needs Baryta carb hasn't fully grown up. For example, this can be the child who isn't meeting developmental milestones, or a teenager who struggles to grasp basic concepts in school, or a naive adult who doesn't understand a remark that was intended to be ironic. On the physical level, many Baryta types are small of stature or slow to grow and develop. The older homeopathic literature refers to these physically undeveloped children with the term dwarfishness. Children may be slow in learning to crawl, walk, or talk. The legs may be weak, or there can be an unsteady gait. Baryta can fit children who have difficulty with learning. The memory may be weak. They may act confused, and they can have trouble learning to read. They aren't capable of thinking in complex terms and may be slow and lacking in imagination. This lack of mental capacity can make an older child or even an adult seem rather simple-minded or innocent. On the emotional level, they tend to have a naive, childlike, or babyish quality. This is a remedy for children who continue to use baby talk when they should be developing more complex language abilities. Some choose to continue to use baby talk even when they're capable of doing otherwise. When parents report that their child has said that they don't want to grow up, we must consider Baryta carb. Baryta carb can be indicated for mental, emotional, or physical deficiencies that might be considered minor, but it can also be useful in more serious instances, such as can occur in cases of autism, mental retardation, or Down syndrome. At the other end of the age spectrum, Baryta-Carb can be helpful for those suffering from various forms of senility or dementia, and it's particularly indicated when elderly individuals exhibit similarly foolish, silly, childlike behaviors that we tend to see in younger people who need Baryta-Carb. Now, a lot of times the Baryta-Carb lack of maturity is associated with or can lead to feelings of insecurity. At some point, on some level, the Baryta-Carb type realizes that they aren't physically keeping up with their peers, or that they don't have the same intellectual capacity as those around them. This awareness of their deficiency can then contribute to feelings of insecurity or uncertainty. As a result, the Baryta type tends to struggle with self-confidence, and Baryta-Carb children are notoriously shy. But it's not just your typical everyday kind of shyness. It's a unique type of shyness that is most accurately represented by the word bashful. Baryta-Carb tends to be bashful. But what do I mean by bashful? Well, one particular definition of bashful is that it's a feeling of being uncomfortable with other people and a tendency to be easily embarrassed. But it's more than just that. To me, bashfulness is an innocent, childlike quality of shyness or timidity. It's a combination of naivete and shyness. And although we commonly apply the term bashful to children, it can also fit adults too. So the books paint a picture of the bashful Baryta-Carb child as one who hides behind the parent, occasionally peeking out from behind to see what's going on. And I've seen these kids in my office more than a few times. They bury their faces in mom's arms while periodically looking up to glance at me. Or they stand behind dad while he sits in a chair talking to me. These are the kids who stay to themselves at school. They don't easily make friends or play well with others. They're often averse to the company of strangers. Their delayed development or immaturity makes it hard for them to fit in with kids their own age who are maturing at a more normal rate. As these children grow older and become adolescents or young adults, they feel inadequate or incompetent. Some may describe it as a feeling of inferiority. Now, this strong feeling of insecurity can result in a great deal of indecision, or as the homeopathic books say, irresolution. Baryta-Carb lists very prominently in the repertory under mind irresolution, irresolution in acts, irresolution in projects, and irresolution about trifles. Furthermore, the Baryta-Carb fears and delusions also reflect the tremendous sense of insecurity of this remedy. Baryta-Carb lists under fear in children, fear that something will happen, fear of people in children, fear of responsibility, and fear of strangers. It also lists under delusion of being criticized, delusion of being laughed at, delusion of being laughed at hides behind the furniture, delusion that she is being watched, and this last peculiar delusion, which is a delusion that his legs are cut off, or a delusion that he walks on his knees. These last two rubrics are symbolic of the sense of helplessness that Baryta-Carb can feel when trying to deal with unfamiliar people or situations, or the big scary outside world. And just for completeness, I would also add to the list fear of new situations, fear of doing new things, delusion that people are talking about him, anxiety about health, anticipation anxiety, and last but not least, school phobia. Baridacarb is the first remedy that we think of for children who do not want to go to school or even refuse to go to school. Additional symptoms that can stem from Baridacarb's sense of insecurity can include irritability, nightmares, and rigid habits, or a strong adherence to routine. We think of this rigidity as a way for the Baridacarb type to compensate for his indecisive nature and to create a sense of control. For example, Baridacarb may focus on being neat and can be very concerned about his appearance. And this is why it lists prominently under conscientious about trifles. Of course, it also makes sense that an immature person with insecurities would tend to be rather dependent upon other people. And this is generally true of Baridacarb types. Baridacarb stays close to home and close to family. Home is his comfort zone, where he feels safe, secure, and protected. Recall the child who hides behind its parents. Baridacarb lists prominently under desire to hide. Desire to hide in children. Child thinks visitors will laugh, hides behind furniture. Desires to hide, covers face with hands and looks through fingers. And desires to hide from strangers. Baridacarb is very dependent and fears losing those upon whom he is dependent. He needs reassurance and seeks out reassurance. When asked a question, the Barida child will turn its head in the direction of a parent or caretaker as if to say, "What do you think? What should I say?" Barida types want others to make decisions for them. In this sense, they lack initiative, are easily influenced, and are therefore easily suppressed. The Baridacarb mindset is one of great passivity, as if the mind is vacant. He is very dependent and has no will of his own. He prefers routine and is resistant to change. He is unable to deal with complexity and unwilling to take on responsibilities. And again, although commonly observed in children, this combination of immaturity, insecurity, and dependency can also occur in adolescents, adults, and in the elderly. It's just that these traits can be a little harder to detect in older individuals who've spent their lifetimes learning how to cover up and compensate for their shortcomings. Okay, now let's talk generals and modalities. All right, now, so generally speaking, Baridacarb is on the chilly side, and it also tends to be cold sensitive. We often see an aggravation from cold, especially from cold, damp weather, or from becoming cold. Barida symptoms can be aggravated, especially when the feet become cold or after the feet get wet. Food-wise, there tends to be a preference for eggs, a desire for sweets, and an aversion to fruit. There may be an aggravation from warm food and an amelioration from cold food. And as we shall see, there's a distinct tendency toward glandular problems, with swollen glands being a commonly occurring symptom. Another general is that symptoms tend to occur locally in single parts. For example, single organs like the testes or ovaries may fail to develop or mature. Or there may be numbness of the fingers or numbness of the knees. Or there can be cold, clammy perspiration of the feet only. Furthermore, there's a tendency to develop problems from suppressed foot sweat. And lastly, another common complaint is a general lack of overall energy. All right, let's move on to Baryticarb's physical symptomatology. Okay, now in keeping with the theme of immaturity, Baryticarb is a remedy that fits a variety of developmental problems. It can fit children of small stature or children who are slow to grow. A common physical feature is a distended abdomen. Small, emaciated Baryticarb children can have a pot-bellied appearance with a hard, distended abdomen. In addition, there may be constipation with hard stools. Additional childhood problems include school headaches, a tendency to bite the nails, and enuresis. Sometimes there may be a regression of toilet training in response to psychological stressors. And recall that Baryticarb can be slow to walk and or slow to talk. Another Baryticarb condition is alopecia, especially premature baldness. I was once consulted by a teenage girl for sudden, dramatic, and unexplained hair loss. She was quite tall and not short of stature at all. Her mother did most of the talking for her. High school graduation wasn't far off, so I asked her about her future plans. She looked rather perplexed by my question, as if she hadn't given it any real thought. When I pressed her again, she said that she would continue to live at home with her family. She didn't have much else to say about the matter. Fortunately, monthly doses of Baryticarb halted the hair loss, but more importantly, she became more vocal with each successive office visit. I could see that she was maturing psychologically before my very eyes. By the way, I've received inquiries over the years about whether homeopathy can help individuals with mental retardation or Down syndrome. And the answer is yes, it can help. I've treated children with Down syndrome and have seen improvements in physical symptoms, in mental capacity, and in emotional maturity. Can homeopathy cure Down syndrome? Certainly not. But it can help such individuals be as healthy as they can be within the limits of their conditions. Now, Baryticarb also has a strong tendency to develop conditions that affect glandular tissue or glandular organs. Glands can become swollen, hard, painful, and or inflamed. The Baryta type tends to catch cold easily and frequently. And with those colds, we often see swollen tonsils or enlarged and painful neck glands. Tonsils and adenoids may be so swollen as to impede breathing, and hence the Baryticarb tendency to mouth breathe. The tonsils can become inflamed and may abscess and suppurate, especially on the right side. The homeopathic literature notes that the anterior cervical neck glands can become swollen and hard, quote, like knotted cords. Lymphatic glands around the ears or in the back of the head in the occipital region can become swollen and painful. Baryta can also be indicated when the thyroid gland is hard, swollen, or painful. Salivary glands can also be affected. Baryta is a remedy for parotiditis. Reproductive organs can be small or may become atrophied. This failure to develop normally can involve the testes, the ovaries, or the uterus. Along with this, there may be a diminished libido, an aversion to sex, or impotence. We also consider Baryticarb in cases of lymphatic cancers, like Hodgkin's disease. And lastly, we also think of Baryticarb for a variety of problems that can develop in old age. Baryta can be a remedy for prostatitis or an enlarged prostate gland. And just like it fits cases that involve mental delay at the beginning of life, it also fits conditions that involve mental decline, like Alzheimer's or dementia, especially when the individual regresses into a childlike state of dependency. Baryta also fits a wide variety of vascular problems, such as hypertension, arteriosclerosis, aneurysms, strokes, and TIAs. And symptoms that can occur with these vascular conditions include hemiparesis, difficulty with swallowing, or even paralysis of the tongue. All right, now it's time to talk about remedy relationships. All right, now, remedies listed in various sources as being complementary to Baryta Carb include calc carb, dulcamara, lycopodium, psorianum, and silica. Remedies worth comparing to Baryta Carb include silica, which is chilly and bothered by cold, lacks confidence, has similar developmental delays and growth disorders, fits glandular problems, and is constipated. Calcarea carbonica is chilly, desires eggs and sweets, is slow to reach developmental milestones, catches cold frequently, has swollen glands, and is also constipated. Lycopodium struggles with self-confidence, likes sweets, has a distended abdomen, and fits prostatitis, prostatic hypertrophy, and impotence. Bufo is another main remedy for developmental delay and mental retardation. One difference is that while Baryta is soft and gentle-natured, Bufo is rather crude and primitive. Natrimur can fit arrested development, is slow learning to talk, and can be shy and emotionally reserved. Pulsatilla is soft, gentle, passive, dependent, inhibited, easily influenced, lacks confidence, and tends to like eggs. And lastly, it's worth comparing other less well-known barium remedies to Baryta Carb. These include Baryta acetica, Baryta iodata, Baryta muriatica, Baryta phosphorica, and Baryta sulfurica. Okay, chalk up another remedy for the Materia Medica series. Thanks for tuning in, and please be sure to like and share. The more subscribers the All Thing Homeopathy channel gets, the more it makes it worth my while to create these videos. And until next time, may the vital force be with you.